Miracle on 2nd Street. A miracle has taken place on 2nd Street, where George and I live. In fact, it is parked in our driveway. Perhaps the new car itself isn't the miracle, but rather the fact that George and I are still together. You would think that by now we would have learned how to accommodate each other's polarized philosophies concerning major purchases, but instead we have learned to gear up for the battle that will swallow us alive until the sales receipt is in our hands, thus discouraging us from the belly of the whale. You see, George is a firm believer in easing into things, especially new cars. His shopping cycles go something like this: read, explore, talk, compare, derive, repeat. Notice the word buy is not in this cycle. I, on the other hand, says, let's go buy a car today. And so, as the time to make a major purchase draws near, we begin to talking sweetly to each other, hoping that kind words and attitudes will ward off any similarities to past experiences, which of course they do not. Nevertheless, we cheerfully began phase one by independently browsing. George eyeballs a couple of mates on his way home from work. I venture behind the wheel a few times in rooms during my daily outings. George picks up a couple of brochures. I form a few aesthetic opinions. We discuss our findings over dinner. Already we don't agree, but in our unending quest to maintain peace, we cheerfully decide to give the other guy's favorite another look. Yuck. This moves us directly to phase two, an exhausting search for possibilities. Evenings are spent prowling through lots, crawling in and out of cars that salesmen insist are just what we are looking for. Price tags continue to astound us. We play with the notion of keeping our old vehicle until it coughs and sputters its death rattle, reminding us why we began this venture. Finally, we enter phase three. I fall in love with a new model. It fits me like a glove. It has power, everything. It has a moonroof, which is even better than a sunroof. It has a cool console with a gear doojobby on the floor. It has leather seats and a 4-speaker stereo system, although I may be sitting perfectly still on the showroom floor. My mind is speeding us down the highway on a romantic weekend getaway. Then I look at George and am slam dunked into phase four. He doesn't fit in any car that fits me like a glove. He points to the top of his head, drawing my attention to the static electricity that has sucked his hair up to the bottom side of the moonroof. He thumps the side of his foot into the console to emphasize that consoles take up valuable space he needs for his size 13 shoes. He thinks all radio programs are as good as Audio Bliss gets, So why do we need all those speakers? He says the engine is too small and Bob babbles something about gear ratio, something or other. Our faces start to lose their patient grins. Off to another dealer, where phase 5 commences. George finds his dream car. It has loads of space and not a bit of extras. It has digital nothing. It's the worst color ever conceived by a human. Its ratios or whatever are all in order. It is the quintessential old geezer's car. Which leads us to phase 6. What am I doing married to this person? And our relentless pursuit continues. Eventually, phase 7 finds a place in our lives, a car we can both live with and perhaps even enjoy. It is a short lived moment of bliss, however, because as we enter the salesperson's office, phase 8 opens its jaws. The sticker price. Thus begins the true test of our for better or worse vows. We hold our breath, hoping the test driver is actually able to return in our trade-in. Finally, the driver reappears in the cubicle and shakes his head as he hands the keys to our salesman. It's downhill from there. He names a price. We laugh. He asks us what we had in mind. We tell him and he laughs. Runs are made to and from a hidden manager. George and I squabble about what we each believe in a fair price to pay. I want this over so the rest of our lives can resume. George isn't making a deal until every deliberate step is taken during this car buying dance. Many people actually end up buying a car at this point. We don't. After 5 hours we leave to find a better deal. Phase 9 gulp ups down hostility with car dealers with one another. Why do we have to play this game? About this time I announce I just can't take it anymore, and George remembers yet another dealer we haven't tried. He'll check it out tomorrow on his way home, he says. They have what we are looking for. We meet with the salesman that very evening and repeat our let's try to buy a car scenario. After much bantering, this guy's best deal price turns out to be higher than the last one. We drive home in our rattle trap, which suddenly feels conspicuously like a digestive tract. George remembers still another place we haven't been. We decide we will browse the lot the next day, which is Sunday, when they are not open. Eureka, car number 2299. It says in bold black letters on a sticker in the window. I spring a new plan on George. How about this? Let's decide what we are willing to pay. You go to work tomorrow, and I'll come here first thing in the morning with the checkbook. I'll hand them the keys to our car for a test drive. While I tell them which car we want to buy, I'll offer to write the check. If the price is right, I promise, George, I won't pay a penny more than we agree. What do you say? Promise? You won't pay a penny more? Promise. Deal. At the crack of 9 a.m., I hand the salesman my keys and explain my plan. As he gives my keys to the test driver, he takes down some pertinent information. My heart thumps. The salesman gives me a price that's worse than the last one. I explain I'm disappointed. He asks me what price I had in mind. I tell him. He says, if I can get you that price, you'll write the check. Yes, I tell him. He disappears and returns with the head honcho, whose fingers begin to tap dance on the calculator. He writes down a few things, then quotes me a price that is $91.28 higher than George's and my price. This is the best I can do, he says. I can even get rid of that 28 cents. I feel like I'm in a meat grinder. Is my marriage worth $91.28? I suddenly ask myself. I asked God to give me strength. I remember saying, promise to George, what if I left and we didn't buy this car? Could our marriage take one more day of this? Absolutely not. How long could George stay mad? I grab a piece of scrap paper lying on the desk and act like I'm tallying up numbers to give myself time to think. Finally, but not easily, my conscience wins. I put the checkbook in my purse and say, I'm sorry, you can't do anything about the 28 cents, but it's the $91 that has put me past what I'm authorized to pay. I start to leave. The salesman shakes my hand. Deal, he says. Write the check. Some may say my shrewd buying tactics saved our marriage. I say the well belched in the nick of time.